Is Dr. Manny. Welcome to Asylum. Okay, so the topic we're looking at is purposeful practice. This is the idea that is at the core of the path to mastery. So, in order to reach mastery, you have to create a habit, a set of practices with which you identify, a set of practices which are personally meaningful. And by meaningful, it means in alignment with your values and what you believe to be the truth about the outside universe. So it's the point at which your concepts connect with practical reality. Hey, George, welcome to Asylum. Hey, LA, welcome to Asylum. So, purposeful practice is about coming to grips with the here and now and your truth in the moment as when you're practicing. Because a lot of us, we practice and it's not a deliberate intentional practice. It's a frustrated tumbling through life, dealing with whatever comes at us in a pretty reactive way. A purposeful practice is essentially choosing to be conscious, be present, be rational, and be aware of what's actually happening in any given moment. So, if for you it's writing, then it's being clear about your intentions such that your writing communicates and reaches people specifically in a way that they are able to exchange mental models with you. If you're practicing to master music, then it's becoming one with your instrument, but also becoming one with your audience so that you're able to receive the feedback and the energy. In a purposeful practice, you have clear intentions, and those intentions are organized, and you're looking as you're enacting each intention, as you're doing what you intend to do, as you walk in your purpose, you're staying present to the feedback and what the universe is telling you back in response to each step. So that's a contrary stance. Hey Sharon, welcome to Asylum. So this is a contrary stance to how we usually approach life, where we're startled and we're afraid. And as a result of being afraid, we're turning and looking away as opposed to looking into the possibility. We're, whether it's because we're worrying or we're busy blaming or criticizing and giving our power away that way, or whether we're not starting because we're being perfectionists and we're not getting really clear and crisp about the idea of and the vision of our desired outcome and why we want it, our larger purpose. So, in a purposeful mindset, what makes it powerful is that you have a presence and you have a clarity about why you're doing what you're doing in the moment. And so that means that the whole time you're practicing, you're you're paying attention to your mind and where it is during the practice. Each step that you take, you look to see if your inner critic is too loud, and you actually listen to the inner critic, but you doubt the inner critic. You have enough faith in your own abilities and the emergence of your eventual mastery that you pour all of your attention, your energy, and your action and your presence into what's there in that moment. You make peace with what is, with clear intentions of what you want to unfold from the moment, and therefore, clear contact, a clear connection with what is becoming. I know that sounds super campfirey. So the key thing is presence. Purposeful practice is about presence, and presence happens when you're intentional. When you're intentional, each step that you take, each action that you take has meaning because it's aligned with your higher purpose. By being aligned with your higher purpose, each action becomes a result of a value-based decision, a value-based choice. You know how they say you should make better decisions? So by being present in the moment when you're practicing, by keeping your mind there and noticing when you have certain stories that are running, whether you're over criticizing yourself, whether you're going into a victim instead of owner position and letting yourself believe the I can'ts and I shouldn'ts and I musts. So by being present in the moment during the practice, you're able to receive feedback from the environment. You can see the real danger. You can sense the real opportunities instead of looking away out of fear and anticipating or worrying with anticipation of scarcity. Hey, Doug, welcome to Asylum. So part of that is you think about it. If you're not having a scarcity mindset, if you're not worrying, if you're not afraid, if you're not in ego defense mode, if you're not in victim mode, if you're not in any of those negative states when you're practicing, then you're practicing intentionally. And what that means is you have a bigger picture. You're looking at what you value and you're choosing your actions so that they're in alignment with what you value. And of course, things are going to come up and startle you into limbic brain. And you'll do things that are not aligned with your values. You'll make mistakes and you'll make bad decisions. But the key is also to remain present then, because that's the practice. The practice is recognizing when these inner voices are distracting you from what you're doing. Hey, Jason, welcome to Asylum. It's looking at when the inner voices are distracting you from being connected to what you value and expressing your truth. When you're not writing your story, but you're writing what you believe others want to hear, or when you're not creating the music that you have in your heart, when you're not writing the words that you feel, when you're not speaking in a way that um, communicates your full energy, shares your full vision, and makes your intentions appealing and contagious in their clarity and just the passion that they have in them. So, with purposeful practice, what emerges is a sense of mastery where everything you touch, you're there for it. And you're flexible, your mental models are malleable because you're not in denial, you're not trapped in old stories that say you can't do what it is that you want to do. And so you're not worrying, you're not rushing, you're not having um, you're not having too much faith, but you're not having too much skepticism either. You're just at the right place in that continuum. And so you receive the feedback and you check your beliefs. You listen to the inner voice, the inner dialogue, and you see what you're saying to yourself about yourself. And you challenge it. You test that belief and you bend your self concept into what you want to become by believing that you're going to achieve it, and therefore returning day after day after day to the practice with the intention, with the clear intention of what it is you're creating with this cycle, with this repeated presence, with this vision that you continually reconnect with. That's that's a purposeful practice. That's when you hear people say you go from doing to being. The practice, that purposeful practice, is what allows you to, in any given moment, be. And just the practice allows you, when the opportunity arises, for you to react, not even react, since it's intentional, you're responding, for you to respond as intended because you took the time to intend. And because you, through the practice, learned to have the distinctions and the sensory acuity, the clarity, like just the ability to see the distinctions in what is around you, so that you, hey Patricia, welcome to Asylum. How is France? Hey Lisa, welcome to Asylum. So I'm looking at the concept of purposeful practice and how returning to the same practice in a clear, focused space. How is France, Patricia? I saw your pictures from where you touched down. That was awesome. And so each day, as you're testing your faith and you're challenging your inner skeptic, you're reaching out and you're expressing what it is you feel most deeply. And by expressing, often I mean acting. And Patricia is like a prime example. Um, she's in France, living out her dreams right now, which is awesome. I'm super proud of her for that. But uh, one of the key things that happens is when you're in the practice, when you're living the practice, you come to see that by choosing over and over in each moment to do the next thing uh, that the universe offers you, and to have practice to the point where your mental models, hey April, welcome to Asylum, to have practice to the point where your mental models are clear enough where you can go inwards and you have these concepts, but at the same time you're able to express them, because when you go outwards, whether it be with a musical instrument, whether it be good afternoon April, whether it be with a musical instrument, whether it be by hopping up and writing a book, whether it be by creating a piece of music, by writing, by doing a piece of art, by a piece of dance, whether it be by connecting more deeply with someone that you tell that you identify with loving. So the purposeful practice, it's most meaningful when it's around something that you're afraid of, because that lets you know that you're practicing at the edge of your capacity, that you're stretching your comfort zone, that you're stepping out on faith, that you're believing. Because your skeptic, what happens with your skeptic is when you're in the practice, if you believe in scarcity and you don't believe in growth and abundance, and that you don't believe that the universe will provide you with what you need in each moment, if you just continue to express yourself and continue to unfold and continue to serve and add value to other people's lives, if once once you step into that space where you're able to challenge any negative inner voices, and you challenge through action, you challenge through presence, you challenge through honesty and clarity, you challenge through returning to integrity every time that you're out of alignment, and by receiving universal truth. Some people call it universal intelligence, some say connecting to source, some say what else, infinite intelligence, getting into flow. The practice, purposeful practice on a deep level, involves challenging your fears in every moment and just being aware of the things that your fears make you do, and choosing intentionally to do the better thing in that moment. It's about being that present, and beyond that, it's about practicing realizing when you've slipped, and you've been slipping for a long time, and noticing that and being like, okay, I've been doing this for about 4 or 5 months now, to the point where I've started to believe it's who I am, and then in that moment challenge that the boundaries of that idea, challenge whatever story is keeping you small, by returning every day to the practice that you know will get you to that place you want to be at. But what makes it purposeful is that the whole time you're practicing, every time an inner voice comes in to tear you down or distract you or to discourage you, you notice it, and you let the feelings go through you, because that's uncomfortable, but you don't tighten up and like repress the memory, hold back the feeling. You let that wave of chemistry just wash through you. Like uh, my one of my mentors says, let it drip out through your fingers and toes, and then return to the practice. Return to doing whatever it is that you intended at the beginning of this process to do that is connected to your higher purpose. That's a purposeful practice. That's a daily small step set of implementable rituals. Uh, Mine happened to have begun with, and this is a few years ago, began with a simple daily morning ritual, a centering ritual based around breathing. Um, so essentially, first thing every day, I check my breath. And then you have to have gratitude for these things. You have to let the gratitude, the thankfulness that you have that breath, wash over you. You have to experience that. And if you're not fully experiencing it, then you have to become aware of that block. Because at a core level, you may not be giving yourself permission to experience pleasure. And by blocking your pleasure, or even by dismissing it, or by not trusting it, or thinking that if it feels this good to practice, I should feel guilty, then you'll always have that inner skeptic using that window of guilt, opportunity, or distraction to knock you off of your purpose, to make the time that you're practicing, the the time that you're stepping through this hard moment, the time that you're speaking your truth despite being afraid, it might rob you. Hey, Elgo, welcome to Asylum. Those negative voices might rob you of the ability to actually think through those things, believing that you'll accomplish it, and therefore you won't take the smaller steps that are the actual path, and you won't be in the right frame of mind as you take the steps, so they won't be as meaningful to you. Because an important part of a purposeful practice is you start to measure the things that matter to you. Instead of looking away from the things that make you afraid, you start stepping into things more intentionally. Like, these are the things that I want out of life, and I'm going to demand them from life, and life is going to uh, provide them for me. But I'm also going to be present enough to receive the opportunities for action, to receive the opportunities for making clearer, better decisions, to receive the opportunity to help others, to receive the opportunity to receive money, gratitude, visibility, influence, um, whatever the universe has coming your way, travel, abundance. It's without that background mindset, your practice, you'll find that they say there's two types of passion. There's obsessive passion, and then there's hedonic passion. The hedonic passion feels good, and it's inspiration, it's curiosity, it's unfolding, it's living in your intuition. Whereas the obsessive passion, it's the voice that constantly shows up when you're sitting down and startles you into believing you're procrastinating. And then you step into the practice a bit resentful that you have to be there. Instead of being present there, your mind is everywhere else you should be. Your mind is on being angry at those that kept you from doing what you wanted to do, or whatever. But your mind is not here now in the practice. So a large part of the practice is connecting with those inner voices and listening to them enough to realize that you don't believe what they're saying. Do you? Because if you do, then accept that and understand that's who and where you are right now, and start choosing something different. Choose to start practicing whatever it is that you believe is what you're here to be, what your destiny is. That's the difference of purposeful mindset. But purposeful practice, it's having a certain presence of mind as you're stepping through, whether it's life, a divorce, a death, a loss, an addiction, a loss of a job, loss of a child, whatever it is. It's staying connected in that moment and continuing to make the meaning that you intended to. It's staying present to feel the pain, as well as staying present and not deflecting the compliments, the gratitude, the progress. Because um, part of the purposeful practice is feeling a sense of pride and a sense of gratitude about who you are now, what you've accomplished now, and all that the universe has provided you. And just it's a general gratitude. It's a gratitude that relaxes you into receiving abundance. And then with that abundance, you tune in to the feedback. Realize that you can have anything you wanted right now. One of my mentors says, imagine the universe as everything happening right now, everywhere. So based off the choices you make right now in the moment, and usually the choices to practice, to be present, to focus, to clarify, to distill, to express, to create in the moment. So a purposeful practice involves choosing to do that in any given moment when you're at the edge of your awareness, at the edge of your confidence, at the edge of your comfort zone. Practice there. Practice being present. Practice listening to the negative inner voices, hearing what they are specifically saying, and then using your skeptic there. Don't use your skeptic against your best self. Use your skeptic against your critic. Use your skeptic against your inner voices, your limiters, your naysayers, your imagined haters. Some folks say listen to them and then prove them wrong, but even more deeply, listen to them and realize that they are all projections of your inner perceptions. And during the practice, notice when you're in that resentful victim mode instead of an ownership mode, when you're imagining a sense of lack, when you're worrying, when you're guilting yourself, when you're labeling yourself, when you're identifying with the problem instead of it being inspired by the solution, when you're not connected to your purpose, when you're not in the moment expressing what your core truth, when you're not in that connected to the practice, then it's not a purposeful practice. That's not the path to mastery. That's the path to misery. So those are my thoughts on purposeful practice. Hopefully you found them to be useful. It's Dr. Manny. Thanks for joining me in Asylum.